I will be reading Chapter 1 from Miriam Yevette's AfterDark, Book 1. Chapter 1, Vina. August 1st, Johnny's Coffee Shop, San Francisco, California. That damn Maverick. He uploaded a selfie with a woman in a red bikini, with a post saying, "My girl." She was pretty, with suntan skin, bleached teeth, and gentle freckles. That smile of his mocked what they had had. 6 months of dating, and he never uploaded a picture of her. Maverick said their relationship was exclusive, not a fantasy run of The Bachelor. Her chest tightened with the same intensity as her grip on the phone. Dating apps. Never again.
Cappuccino on ice?
Alice, one of the baristas at Johnny's Cafe, called to the crowd of waiting customers. Friday night had thrown her gentle and sweet voice out the window. Being a mom of 4, Alice could handle the worst of the worst. And Vina, their patron, had seen it all. Snatch-and-go snobs, combative teenagers, name-callers, grown adults who don't know their open sugar packets belong in the trash. The list goes on. A man who had been on his phone playing an app game didn't hear Alice until she used her mom voice, sharp and clear for the whole coffee shop to hear. The man rushed to the front with bulging eyes, nearly bumping shoulders as he darted out. Inching toward the back wall, Vina let out a short sigh. The wait was longer than usual. The setting sun bathed Johnny's coffee shop in a gradient tangerine hue, while succulents on a shelf hid, half mingled in the cool gray shade from the wall. She tugged at her scarf to loosen it around her neck. The scarf was old. No, ancient was the right word. The bold red reminded her of recently drawn blood, and the length reached past the hem of her black skirt.
Order for Samantha?
Only his angelic voice could pierce Vina's ears fast enough to turn her attention towards the pickup counter. Replacing Alice was Jason. The lights on the ceiling cast a soft glow on his flawless skin. If she could describe him with the mushiest words, Jason spoke like the morning rain on a pop star's lips, silky and alluring enough to call attention to his dreamy dark eyes. Their gazes met for a moment, and his soft pink lips lightly smiled. Heart-thumping, Vina pulled her phone from her satchel and stared blankly at her lock screen. It was too soon to swoon over her old crush, wasn't it? Blip! In the top right corner was a notification from Mom. "Mom, come straight to Ruined Books. Now!" What did she do this time? There was no way in hell she'd skip out on her evening coffee after Maverick 2-timed her. Vina. On my way. Waiting for my order. Vina locked her screen. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, butt sore from the bus ride home. The week had been long, and Professor Puxley's 2-hour lecture on cursed objects had started to feel like a hex on oneself. Seeing Jason, breathing the same air as him, that was her medicine. On a less busy day, they would have their normal small talk like, "Good to see you didn't miss the bus, Vina," or, "I noticed you don't like sugar with your coffee." Her phone vibrated. It was a phone call this time, revealing an image of a woman sitting in a chair with a black and white cat curled up on her thigh. Mom again? As if Ruined Books had a line of customers at this hour, or any hour for that matter. Downtown San Francisco was packed with entertainment, retail stores on Market Street, or the best burritos on Mission Street. Bookstores these days couldn't compete in a fast-paced world. Alice started calling the next order. The pickup counter was still empty of her iced macchiato. Vina's phone rang again. What was Mom's deal? Ruined Books was 4 blocks away. Or perhaps it was Maverick, calling her to explain why he'd ghosted her for a week, and then dropping the bombshell that he'd moved on. Vina locked her phone and shoved it in the pocket of her black skirt. The gentle caress of cotton brushed against her thigh, startling her. No one passed by to bring the end of her long scarf to move like that. If anything, it rarely animated on its own, meaning it wanted her attention. The line of customers in the front were on their phones. except for the three women at the back. The way they huddled close showed their bond. But it was their stares that bothered her. They scanned her from head to toe before chuckling amongst themselves. Vina raised her left hand over her red cotton fabric, undecided on the course of action to take. They wouldn't be the first group to talk behind her back, but something about their faces made her uneasy. Even Johnny's customers would look at them, annoyed by their obnoxious chatter. Disrupting the vibe of her favorite coffee shop was a good enough reason to indirectly intervene. Vina ran her index finger over the bumpy layers of her scarf. A pulse of electric energy swam through her arm and tickled her chest. Within seconds, the blending sounds of the chattery customers and African drums coming from the speakers faded, leaving the trio's voices to echo clearly and without disturbance. If it weren't for the color, they were practically wearing the same outfit, a jean jacket over a one-piece dress, 5-inch stiletto heels lifting them off the ground. The tallest of the trio, wearing golden hoop earrings, eyed her from head to toe. "I still think it's a pretty thick-ass scarf to wear. What do you think, Lisette?" Lisette was a tan girl with short brown hair. She looked bored, scowling at the old man in front of them. "Do you think I care what she's wearing when I'm wearing these uncomfortable shoes?" The blonde-haired woman on the left clasped her hands. "Maybe she's hiding a load of hickeys." Vina scoffed. Hickeys. If only. She sometimes had to beg Maverick to kiss her. Maybe he couldn't, because he'd been two-timing her and getting everything he wanted from the other one. Hell. Any action she'd seen at all this week was Auntie Crystal arguing with Adrian. He was an uncouth, avid reader who could devour a book in one day and ask for a refund the next, swearing his purchase was a mistake. The laughing women broke their focus. "Look, she zoned out on the poor barista. Must be one hell of a drug." Blinking, Vina released her scarf, bringing the subdued noise back to a flurry. "For Vina!" Alice repeated, irritated this time. Vina hurried to the pickup counter. "Sorry." "You okay, hun?" Smiling, she turned to Jason. "I see you were hoping Cutie over there would give you your drink. Sorry, but we're floored today." Heat swam to Vina's cheeks as she stole a glance at Jason writing down another order. Time almost stopped. The lights in the coffee shop dimmed around him as she took in his lean build, his relaxed posture looking straight out of the love interest of a shoujo manga. His average height didn't make him stand out in a crowd, and his mid-length blonde hair was brushed sideways, curling at the ends. From his side profile, he smiled. God, she was a sucker for guys with a great set of teeth. "Vina!" Alice's voice startled her. "Did you need anything else?" Her mom voice made Jason turn in her direction. The trio in line burst into laughter. Flushed, Vina took her cold drink, spun, and rushed for the exit. Passing the women, she sensed their stares lingering, never wavering. "What a dumbass," one said. But it was hard to tell which of the three said it. Instead of walking through the door with what remained of her pride, Vina moved to the side, using her hip to open the door. Just as she walked out with her iced coffee in her right hand, her left hand hovered over her red scarf. Her middle finger uncurled and brushed the fabric. Snap! 3 pairs of stiletto heels snapped. The women threw their arms out and tumbled to the ground like poorly built Jenga blocks. Satisfied, Vina let the door shut behind her. The cool city air brushed her hot cheeks. The sun was sinking behind the ocean of buildings, leaving San Francisco's night lights blushing yellow and red, illuminating the faces of pedestrians. Leaving the corner of Johnny's Cafe, the odor of exhaust intermingled with the aroma of pizza shop across the street. Heat in the summer didn't mingle here. The temperature shifted between the mid-60s and the high 70s. Still, there was moisture in the air, strong fumes coming from the garbage cans oozing out from the alleyways. Vina's phone vibrated in the pocket of her skirt. Mom again. She hurried to the crosswalk, weaving through the slow walkers, the ice in her drink rattling, the droplets of water sweating from her caffeinated elixir, made by the gentle and sensual hands of Jason. She hadn't taken a sip, deciding to savor his art. The bookstore was just a few blocks away, almost home. As her red lips hovered over the tip of the straw, The fibers of her scarf lifted like a cat's spine. The threat was silent and fast. Something was coming. The moment she turned around, a fierce gust of wind slammed her back. The scent of pine and damp earth filled her nostrils. Vina used her free hand to keep her skirt down. Her long black hair would have tossed about if it weren't tucked under the scarf. Confused pedestrians ducked as their hair moved about, confusion marring their faces. The sudden burst of wind sent goosebumps crawling over her skin. Vina turned against the wind and looked for the source, thinking that perhaps an industrial fan was being carried by a pervert who wanted to lift women's skirts. Red, translucent strands whistled through the alarmed crowd. People started taking pictures. Others pointed and smiled at the majestic sight. Vina watched, troubled and mesmerized just the same. This was out of the ordinary. But it strangely made her chest tighten. Suddenly, her head jerked back, as if someone had pulled her hair. Only the grip came from around her neck. The strength almost lifted her off the ground. Waves of unrelenting fear poured at Vina's reasoning. It pulled, but how? On her tiptoes she spun, causing one layer of her scarf to unwind. She reached to grip the fabric and stop it, but the pull twirled her. Vina resisted, knocking the soles of her feet to the ground. The red wind sent her heels dragging until a violent yank sent her stumbling forward. Like Aladdin's magic carpet, the red scarf took off with the wind current, dyed in ruby brilliance. There was no time to rationalize the phenomenon before her. Vina squeezed through the gaps between one pedestrian and another. Nothing she read in Hawthorne's Book of Spells could explain what could unravel her family's scarf against her will. It had to be some illusion. No witch or warlock out there had full control of the wind. A startled man, who knew better than to be mesmerized by the red current overhead, ran back with wide strides. His shoulder crashed against her, sending the lid of her iced macchiato to pop off. Ice, espresso, and milk burst onto her chest and the pavement. As the man fled, Vina stood frozen, heart racing. She clutched her bare neck, cold coffee trickling down her collarbone, as she tried to process what had just happened. She had to call Mom, but the scarf was getting away. It zigzagged like a serpent, the end spinning, with ruby lights flickering above. Many pedestrians and drivers went on with their day, perhaps thinking the illumination was the result of drones making a show. Vina yelped and grabbed a traffic signal pole to stop herself. The crosswalk wasn't green, so cars kept driving through. The scarf crossed the next block, and to her surprise, the wind weakened and dropped it in front of a man in a denim and blue plaid button shirt. He unglued his focus from his phone and stared at it, as if enthralled by the crimson scarf glistening before him. As cars passed, Vina repeatedly pressed the pedestrian call button, chanting, "Don't grab it, don't touch it, don't get near it." The man tugged at the collar of his shirt, as if sensing it wasn't normal. Curiosity, or perhaps drawn by the magical properties stitched into every thread, the man bent over to pick it up. Vina crossed the street, her satchel bouncing against her hip as she sped through traffic. She stopped midway, missing cars' bumpers, while their wheels screeched to a stop. Her scarf was now in the man's hands. Smoke billowed from the ground, enveloping him in a thick haze. Oh, hell. And that concludes Chapter 1 of After Dark by Miriam Yevette. Thank you. Okay, love you, bye!